Going to call the meeting to order and thank everybody for coming tonight. I'll have Anita read the warrant. Yes, the town lawyer is not here yet. She is coming. She's running a little bit late. And if we have any legal issues, we will just hold them until she gets here.
Good evening. To either of the constables of the town of Rutland and the county of Worcester, in the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town, qualified to vote in elections and in town affairs, to meet at the Glenwood Elementary School Auditorium, 65 Glenwood Road, in said Rutland, on Thursday, the 18th day of November, 2021, at 6 o'clock in the evening, then and there to act on the following articles.
Thank you, Anita. Would everybody please stand? We'll salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. It's a beautiful night. Can't get much nicer than this in November, this close to Thanksgiving. So thank everybody for coming and taking time for it. We have a fair amount of business in front of us tonight, so we'll try to move along as smoothly and quickly and efficiently as we can. Everyone that is a registered voter that got checked in should have a monitor in front of them. There is a green button, there's a red button, and there's a yellow button. The green button is for yes. The red button is for no, and C is abstain from voting. So what I'd like to do, what we've done in the past, just to make sure everybody's working and comfortable with it, we're going to have 3 different tests. I'm going to ask you a question. We're going to try to get some yeses, and the tally will come up here, and I'll give you the results of it. And I'll ask a question that's fairly basic and try to get everybody to vote one direction, and then they'll have a few people that choose to go the other direction, and we can tell that here in the numbers. So all those that think the Patriots are going to win tonight, FYI, would like to be home to see some of the game before the end of the night. So all those that think the Patriots are going to win, please vote yes or green. All those that think the Patriots are going to lose, hit red, please. Typically, I would ask for discussion, but right now we're just doing the voting procedure. So I'll make sure all your ballots are in, and eventually we'll get a number that's relatively close throughout the evening unless people come and go, so I'll know that everything's working as properly. We've been very successful. As all balloted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. She does something back there that's magical, and she'll tell me that 50 people said yes, 20 people said 10 people said no, they're not going to win, and 2 people said they didn't really give 2 rats rinds about it. So in turn, we're going to say, is this the nicest day that we'll have between now and Christmas? Everybody that says yes, please vote green. Everybody that thinks we'll have a nicer day than this, please vote no. Ballot box, all those balloted who wish. I declare the ballot box closed. 34 yeses, 21 noes, 2 abstained. All right, so one more question. Is everybody ready for Thanksgiving next week? There may be too many honest people on this one. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. Why I hesitated, the number was still changing. There was 15 people that are ready for Thanksgiving, 28 that are no, and there are 8 that are undecided whether they're ready or not. So we're off to a good start. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I think we'll get started. We don't have a special section, but yet potentially in the back is most of our non-resident voters. But due to the COVID restrictions in the room over there, we'll do that, and we'll just we'll use the counting thing, so things should be all set there. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. but I think everybody understands that folks to my right are the Finance Board, and the full board is here tonight. And the Select Board is at the far left of me with the Town Clerk, the Town Lawyer that's missing that will be here shortly, and then Ron, our Town Administrator, is here as well. So let's get started. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of 5% of certified free cash to the Town Stabilization Fund or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $50,828.60 of certified free cash to the town's stabilization account.
Second.
A motion is made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article?
Luke Carnicurl, 18 Blueberry Lane. What will this bring the stabilization fund up? And I'll have the same question for the next one. What will it bring the sum of money up to? Thanks.
The general stabilization account at this point is $1,049,892. Capital stabilization is at $154,992.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other discussion on this article? Is there any other discussion on this article? Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please vote by the green button of yes and no for the red button, please. All those balloted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. Yes wins, 62 yeses, 3 noes, 0 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of 5% of certified free cash to the town capital stabilization fund or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $95,828.60 of certified free cash to the town's capital stabilization fund.
Does this motion receive support?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there a recommendation of the Finance, please?
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by the green button. All those opposed would be the red button. All those balloted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. Yeses have it, 55, noes 1. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of 5% of certified free cash to the town's OPEB trust fund or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of, $76,736 from free cash to be used as an additional funding source. Oh, wait a minute, I'm all screwed up. Oh, sorry, guys, I'm sorry. I moved that the town vote to transfer a sum of $50,828.60 of certified free cash to the town's OPEB trust fund.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use the green button. All those opposed will be the red button. All those balloted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 71 yeses, 1 no, 2 abstain. just to make it easier for me, I realize people come and go, but that number's 20 different than it was a few minutes ago. So I question that as moderator here. And everybody doesn't have to vote on it, but if you don't have a decision, please try to vote the yellow button so I know that all of them are voting or that I've given you enough time to vote, please. And do the best you can, but that's why I hesitated there on that particular one. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 4, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash to be used as an additional funding source for FY 2022 operating budget approved under Article 4 on June 5th of 2021, the annual town meeting, as may be necessary or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $76,736 from free cash to be used as an additional funding source for the FY 2022 operating budget approved under Article 4 of the June 5th, 2021 annual town meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation to Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Folks, there are some chairs down here. You can be closer to Mr. Canacchioli if you'd like to.
I don't think they want to sit with me, but that's okay. I took a shower before I got here. Is the raise going to be the 3% that the unions got starting in June of, starting in this fiscal year? It's a 3% raise for these whoever, I don't care who answers it, I just want to know. I believe the union people got a 3% raise. Am I correct there? So are these, what we're voting for, which by the way, I had an article on the annual town meeting to give these people a raise, which was shot down. So in my article talked about the 3% raise. So I want to know, are we giving them the same raise as the union people?
So first of all, the article you're talking about is the next article on the agenda. But
Isn't this number 5?
we're on
4, Mr. Canacchioli.
Oh, I'm still on 4? I apologize. I'll be back.
Is there any other discussion on Article 4? Is there any other discussion on Article 4? Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use the green button. All those opposed will be the red button. All those balloted who wish. Yeses have 79. Noes have 3. 2 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 5, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the purpose of funding COLA raises for non-union, non-contracted employees for the FY 2022 fiscal year, as well as the holiday pay for the non-union police chief consistent with the town contractual obligation, and to include the additional compensation for the town clerk and the town planner according to the compensation wages matrix, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $15,563 from free cash for the purpose of funding COLA raises for non-union and non-contracted employees for the fiscal year 2022 fiscal year, as well as holiday pay for the non-union police chief consistent with the town's contractual obligations, and to include additional compensation for the town clerk and the town planner according to the compensation wage matrix.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article?
Now the old man remembers. Okay. Again, it's a very simple question. The union people got a 3% raise. What are these people getting?
So to answer your question, the union people didn't want 3% raises. Most of them got 2% raises.
Okay, 2% raises.
If
Okay.
dispatch in the third year of the contract, they think 3% raise.
Okay. So what are these people getting?
This is 2% the same as all the other unions.
So they're getting the same that the unions got starting on July 1st. Thank you. And I want to applaud, by the way, and I very seldom do this, the Finance Board and the Board of Selectmen for righting a wrong that should have been taken care of back in May. But congratulations to all of you. You did the right thing.
Tim Norwald, 149 Palmagussit, speaking as a citizen, as a planning board member. Just want to get that out there. Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to amend Article 5 for the purpose of funding stipends that were cut in this year's budget by transferring from free cash to the following line items in the fiscal year 2022 operating budget approved under Article 4 of the June 5th, 2021 annual town meeting. Moderator 001-114, $75. Select Board 001-122, $3,000. Board of Assessors 001-141, $1,500. Planning Board 001-175, $2,500. And Board of Health 001-510, $750 for a total of $7,750.
Does this amendment receive support? A motion is made, seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Yes.
Can you just comment, in support of the amendment, or is this something that the amended, the person proposing the amendment came to me? These statements we received from various boards and commissions for many years. Because of budget cuts we cut them, I think it's good that we put it back.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? This is on the amendment, please.
Oh, it's just on the amendment.
Just on the amendment right now, please. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Do I have to excuse myself as moderator is getting pay raise? No, right?
For the money you get?
Everybody understands I didn't have nothing to do with it, so we're going to vote at this time on just the amendment. Don't vote yet. We've got to do something funny in the computer. That's way above my pay, well, as my current pay rate, right? Yeah, but 75 doesn't get me smarter, so. All set. So at this time, we are going to vote on the amendment only, what Mr. Norwell made. We're going to vote on that. All those in favor of the amendment only, please vote green. All those opposed are red, please. All those voted who wish. I declare the ballot box closed. Yeses 61, 12 noes, and 7 abstain. The amendment carries. Now we're going to have discussion on the amendment with the motion. Is there any discussion? Ms. Nichols? Nancy, do you want, all set? Is there any other discussion on the article with the amendment? Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, at this time, we'll vote on the motion with the amendment, and everybody understands what it is, unless you ask. We're going to do the same thing, and you're ready to vote? All those in favor of the motion with the amendment, please do green. All those opposed would be red, please. All those voted who wish. I declare the ballot box closed. 73 yeses, 3 noes, 3 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 6, to see if the Article 6, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the purpose of funding the town costs as they relate to the town's 300th anniversary celebration or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $30,000 from free cash for the purpose of funding town costs as they relate to the 300th anniversary celebrations.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of finance, please.
The Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article?
I have a discussion. If we're voting to approve money for the 4th of July committee, Harry Seckman, 13 Beechwood Drive, how does that relate to the end of citizens petition number 22? Is the money then going to be in addition to what we're voting here?
Can I? Yes. Are you going to speak on that? Ron?
So the issue, this portion of the money really only deals with things like private duty police officers, any need of our DPW in terms of picking up trash and and doing some work at the playground. Later on, the proposers of the petition have a lot more things that they wanted to discuss. So this only deals with that small aspect of what's being asked for in the petition.
Follow-up question? In regards to the 30,000, is that comparable to other years that we supply for the town to help out the 4th of July?
So to answer that question, it's a little bit more complicated. In past years, we did not have a reduction like we did in this year's budget to services of the police department. So this money attempts to make that up for this event, to make sure we have enough private duty officers and work at DPW for the event, so that's it. I was told that during the 275th anniversary, those kind of services were paid for out of the normal town account.
Okay.
And an additional, and told, I believe it's $35,000 was given on top of that. This does not do that.
Okay. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Moon.
John Rokicki, 17 Prouty Lane. Just trying to reconcile the words you said with information that was provided to voters for coming in. You mentioned that this $30,000 covers police and DPW, whereas information we've seen from others exceeds that. Do you believe that the numbers used in this sheet are in error in terms of the total cost, or is the $30,000 not adequately covering the expected expenditures?
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a very good question. Thank you for asking me that. First of all, I think the 30 grand is enough to meet the needs of what we're trying to do. I've had conversations with my 3 department heads, specifically police, fire, and DPW about this issue, and I'm comfortable, given our discussions, that this will meet those needs. One of the difficult situations here, they were asked to give estimates early, is not being aware of exactly what the events are going to be and where private duty might be needed or not needed. The cost of private duty for the police department, for example, was $6,800 to do the 4th of July activities in the past. I believe it will have anywhere from 15 to 20,000 of that 30,000 we'll be able to use for things like police private duty. So I think there's more than enough to cover private duty for what we need. And I'm not convinced that every event that is put on is requiring for private duty. So I've had that discussion with the police chief, and we feel comfortable that we will have the funds to take care of the
Hi, Missy Pugliafico, 3 Sunnyside Ave. The $30,000 for the police detail and DPW, was that just for like the normal 4th of July span and not considering the 300th all year long?
So the question is, what's difficult is you don't know exactly what events we would need private duty. There's a lot of events that I think will be going on that won't need private duty.
Okay.
So it is hard to calculate. But as I said, $6,800 has been used for private duty for police for the 4th of July.
For the 4th of July.
More than double that. That's only 12 or 13 grand. I figure we've got close to up to 20 grand to deal with all those events. So I'm comfortable with that number.
Okay.
The police chief is comfortable with that number.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on this article?
Hi, Joe Becker, 18 Crestview Drive. One of the things I'm trying to, kind of to what Harry was alluding to, is reconcile Article 6 with Article 26 and the logistics of how that's going to happen. Because it sounds like through the material that was handed out at the door, and first of all, the other thing I want to do is I want to thank everyone who's involved in all of this planning, because it sometimes can be a thankless job, yet the activities that these people are planning, both from the 4th of July perspective as well as the 300th perspective, make Rutland what it is, and the work that they do is greatly appreciated. It's always the money pieces that get a little sticky. But having said that, what I'm trying to figure out is I think there's some overlap between the 30,000 we just spoke of, which is in Article 6, and I think it's like 88,000 found in Article 26. Some of that overlap being the police detail that we had talked about, the DPW work, and there might be some other overlap there. So I'm trying to figure out if we vote 30,000 here, and whatever the number is we vote in Article 26, how do we reconcile that overlap and prevent the overlap from occurring?
Can I talk? The only reason that I don't talk, but someone had spoke to me about Article 26, right? If this article passes favorably, then Article 6 is likely to be amended to account for some of the $30,000, if that's what you're asking. I think it's as simple as that, and I think to simplify it a little bit more to keep it simple, right, is the way it was explained to me was 88,000 is worst case scenario, right? If life was back to normal in Rutland when we didn't have budget cuts, the fire and the police and the DPW could help fund some of that $88,000 worth of needs, right? In turn, Ron is trying to help it with the $30,000 to physically do it. In turn, I think the 300th of the citizen petition is trying to just cover their rear ends for worst case scenario to have it done. I think that's simple, and I think that's fair to say that that's fairly black and white in my mind what is coming, but I'm not supposed to have an opinion, so.
Thank you. And through the moderator, if I could, can I follow up on that? Fully understood. I get it. I guess I'm a little bit more in the weeds than that. For example, police detail. Let's use that as the example, because I think the town administrator is suggesting that 100% of the police detail associated with all the celebrations can be accounted for within the $30,000. But I think my understanding is that there's more than that just for police detail found in Article 26. So from a logistics, paperwork, warrant signing, accounting perspective, you know, what police detail gets charged to Article 6 and what police detail gets charged to Article 26 if money is appropriated in both.
So I'll only comment this way, because I think the people who put forward the petition have a right to speak about the petition articles on Article 26, and I don't want to take away or, you know, discuss it. That's up to the people in this room how they vote on that article. I believe, and as I said to you in meeting with my department heads, that the $38,000 number that was put in for police deal at 88 is more than we need in discussion. I think that they took the number of events they had in hours and tried to make a reasonable estimate as to what they needed. I think it's high. And I discussed that with the chief to make sure that I was correct and that we're okay. I've asked some of the members proposing that article that they start off by amending their article to reduce it by the 30 grand and then have debate on what's left in their minds between the 88 and the 30 grand. And that, I think, is what might happen when we get to Article 26. But that's not in my decision-making capability. That's up to those proposing the petition.
Point of order, moderator. We are talking about something that hasn't come up yet. I don't think we're going down a trail that we shouldn't be going down right now. That's my point of order. We don't need to talk about 26 right now.
Mr. Norwell, would you like discussion on?
Just this article.
Yes, please.
I'm not going to talk about 26. That's
Thank
down
you.
the road. My question for this 30,000 is this going back into the individual department budgets, or is this going to be what I consider 30,000 an Article 6 that the police DPW will have to invoice Article 6, or does it go back in the budget and can be used for anything, even though Article 6 is specifying it for the 300th and the July 4th? That's my question.
Again, through you, Mr. Moderator, a very good question. So the intention here is to put it in Article 6, to put it into an article, the full 30 grand,
Okay.
and to give me the flexibility to move it to those departments as needed. We expect the lion's share of it, I believe, will go to the police. It turns out that fire has told me that they don't need any of the funds, so I'm going to be working with the DPW director and essentially the police chief to moderate that 30 grand between those two departments.
Okay. My point was, I just want to make sure that if the 30,000 was in Article 6 and should not put back in the budget where it could be used
Nope.
for anything.
Cannot.
That was my concern. Okay, thanks.
Is there any other discussion? And try to do your very best to stay on this article, please.
Sheila Dibb, 209 Palmagussit Road. I just wanted to say, on behalf of the 300th Committee, thank you for this article. Obviously, we do have another article coming up at the end, and we are looking forward to speaking on it at this time. This was a wonderful start, and of course, with the resident petition, we could not have known that this amount could be made available. We didn't have those figures in front of us, and we're very appreciative for this as a first step. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other?
Mr. Moderator, I apologize if I offend anybody bringing up the other article, but it is crucial that there is over $24,000, I'm correct, allocated to the police in the other article, and now we're talking about 15 allocated to the police as just one item. So we're talking close to $40,000 allocated to the police. So, and then there's another addendum that we're transferring some cash out of another fund. So I'm really confused here about what kind of money we really are doing, because these are both warrant articles. They were both scrutinized. They were both put on the town meeting. So there had to be some validity to both of them. So which one is real? Thank you.
Just to kind of go back. So the answer to that, Harry, is right now we're only dealing with this particular article for $30,000. And I've given you the best information I can. I think that what you're saying is true, that there's an overlap that needs to be discussed when we get to Article 26.
Go ahead. No, you're up first. Go
ahead. I always give back to him.
Tommy, you can speak in place of Louis then.
Okay, the only thing I wanted to say in regards to Harry's comment, the Article 6 was placed on the warrant by the Board of Selectmen, and Article 26 is a citizen's petition. So that has to go on there's no choice. That was a petition, it has to go on the warrant. And the discussion that we had was mainly on Article 6 and not as much on Article 26, so we didn't have a lot of information at the time we had it. The other thing I wanted to say was, I guess the bottom line here is, if we pass Article 6 right now, then when we get to Article 26, whatever the citizens petition presenters give to the town meeting floor, then we're going to have to scrutinize that the way we want it and either amend it down, up, or whatever you want to do. It's going to have to be up to the voters to decide we don't want that much, we want less, or whatever. It's going to have to be amended and then voted, up or down.
Okay? Did a great job, didn't he? Question. This is for the 300th. We're only going to have one 300th. The next one's a 350th, 50 years from now. I'm 79 years old. I don't think I'm going to be here. So I like to see the 300th go off very well. So we're putting together how much money? How much? 30 grand? 30,000? Is that what I hear?
This article is 30.
This article's 30,000. Yes. So let's say we only spend 25. Does the 5 grand go back into the general account?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, since it's an article, it'll stay to the article until the Board of Selectmen decides to sweep the articles in the account.
But the Board of Selectmen, the 3 gentlemen and a lady in front of me, can then vote, or the 2 gentlemen. I thought that somebody's missing, but I apologize. I thought there was another person. You can vote to put the money back in the general fund. I believe that's what would be the protocol to do. I know when I was a selectman, we voted to put money back into that we didn't spend. So this money is not going to be spent frivolously. It's going to be spent for the 300th, the one-time event. I was here for the 250th. That was a hell of a good time. And I expect the 300th to be a good time. So why don't we just get going? I want to go watch the Patriots. Let's vote yes on this.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on this article? Is there any other discussion on this article? Is there any other discussion on this article? Well, as everybody understands, this article is asking for $300,000. Wow. For the 300th anniversary for $30,000.
Yes, very good.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of this particular article hit the green button. All right. All those opposed are the red button, please. All those voted who wish. I declare the ballot box closed. Yeses 85, 4 noes, 3 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 7, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash to be added to the appropriation made under Article 4 of June 5th, 2021 annual town meeting for snow and ice to defray the cost to be incurred performing snow plowing or unimproved private gravel roads in Rutland as previously approved and documented on a list held by the Department of Public Works for the 2021 and 2022 winter, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $9,100 from free cash to be added to the appropriation made under Article 4 of the June 5th, 2021 annual town meeting for snow and ice to defray costs to be incurred performing snow plowing on unimproved private gravel roads in Rutland as previously approved and documented on a list held by the DPW for the 2021-2022 winter.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use the green buttons. All those opposed will be the red buttons. All those voted who wish. There are 20 people that are sleeping. All those that have voted who wished. I declare the ballot box closed. Yeses 62, no 6, 2 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 8, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the free cash for the purchase, installation, and program of a new school zone lighting to be installed on Main Street westbound to replace the existing outdated, poorly visible light, including all incidental and related costs, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $5,600 from free cash for the purchase, installation, and programming of a new school zone light on Main Street westbound to replace the existing outdated, poorly visible light, including all incidental and related expenses.
Second.
Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green buttons. All those opposed will be the red buttons. All those voted who wish. I declare the ballot box closed. Yeses 86, 5 noes, 1 abstained. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 9, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the free cash for the purpose of fixing the sewer line located under the pool house located at 250 Main Street, Rutland, including but not limited to the slight preparation and restoration and all other incidental and related expenses, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, Harry Seckman, Chairman of the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. The Capital Improvement Planning Committee had went through our committee, and we approved this one for the warrant article.
Are you making a motion?
I make a motion we approve the article.
Read the, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if you would, read the motion that's in the list I gave you. Article number 9. In the motions document.
Okay. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $35,000 from free cash for the purpose of fixing the sewer line under the pool house located at 250 Main Street, Rutland, including but not limited to site preparation, restoration, and all incidental and related expenses.
Second.
Recommendation of Finance.
Finance Committee recommends favorable.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by using your green buttons. All those opposed, will use the red buttons. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. Yeses have 82, noes have 4, 2 have abstained, motion carries. Moving on to Article 10, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the free cash for the purpose of replacing the roof on the Rutland Community Center located at 53 Glenwood Road, including all incidental and related expenses, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, this article has come through the Capital Improvement Planning Committee and was approved unanimously. So, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $90,000 from free cash for the purpose of replacing the roof on the Rutland Community Center building located at 53 Glenwood Road, Rutland, including all incidental and related expenses. I vote that the town approve the article.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green keys. All those opposed will be the red keys. All those who voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. We have 71 yeses, 13 noes, 0 abstaining. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 11, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the repairs and improvement of a building and roof of the Rutland Free Public Library located on 290 Main Street, Rutland, needed as a result of water damage from faulty rooftop equipment areas and shafts, including all incidental and related expenses, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, this came before the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, was discussed and voted unanimously on. So, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $75,000 from free cash for repairs and improvements to the building and roof of the Rutland Free Public Library located at 280 Main Street, Rutland, needed as a result of water damage from faulty rooftop equipment areas and shafts, including all incidental and related expenses. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town approve the article.
Second.
Recommendation of Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use the green key. All those opposed would use the red key. All those voted who wish, declare the ballot box closed. There are 65 yeses, 8 noes, 0 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 12, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the purpose of purchasing and installing 3 rooftop gas fire heater air handler units on the roof of the Rutland Free Public Library located at 280 Main Street, Rutland, Mass. to replace those which are at the end of their useful life and failing, including all incidental and related expenses, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, this item has come before the Capital Improvement Planning Committee for many years and did not have the money available to move forward on the project. It came before this year, and we voted unanimously. And therefore, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $75,000 from free cash. I'm sorry.
Next one.
I move that town transfer $90,000 from free cash for the purchasing and installing 3 rooftop gas fire heater air conditioning handling units on the roof of the Rutland Public Free Library located at 280 Main Street, Rutland, to replace those which are at the end of their useful life and failing, including all incidental and related expenses. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote favorably on this article.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? All those in favor, please use your green key. All those opposed will use the red key. All those voted who wish. I declare the ballot box closed. 59 yeses, 6 noes, 1 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Articles 13, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the purpose of repairing fire, alarm, and sprinkler systems within the town-owned buildings, including all incidental and related expense, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, this item came before the Capital Improvement Committee as a safety issue for the town. It was voted on unanimously, and I move that the town vote to transfer $12,908.55 from free cash for the purpose of repairing fire alarm and sprinkler systems within town-owned buildings, including all incidental and related expenses. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote favorably on this article.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green buttons. All those opposed will be the red buttons. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 77 yeses, 5 noes, 1 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of money from available funds to purchase and equip a new ambulance, such funds as to serve as a town matching portion of a federal assistant to firefighter grant for the same purpose, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, this has come before our committee for several years, and it was time to buy a new ambulance. It is thankfully that our fire chief has done a great job of grant writing. Kudos to him. And the portion that you see here is only the town's portion of approximately a $300,000 plus ambulance. So this is very inexpensive to buy this. So, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $14,285.71 to purchase and equip a new ambulance, such funds to serve as the town's matching portion of the federal assistance to firefighter grant for such purposes. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote favorably on this article.
Second.
Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article?
Lou Carnicurli, 18 Blueberry Lane. I don't have any question. I'd just like to make a statement that I was on the Board of Selectmen when a citizen of ours who recently passed away, Mr. Patrick Sarkeesian, came before the Board of Selectmen and was tireless in his determination to get us to have a full-time ambulance service. And Pat recently passed away at age 79. And I just want to acknowledge the work that he did, and that it has proven to be fruitful, because our ambulance service is second to none in all of this district. So I just want to give you a little bit of history and say a big shout out, I know he's in heaven, to thank you to Pat Sarkeesian.
Is there any other discussion on this article? Is there any other discussion on this article? Is there any other discussion on this article? Hearing none. All those in favor, please use your green buttons. All those opposed will be the red buttons. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 83 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 15, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash to the police cruiser lease account of 001-210-5850-000 to pay the lease payment on a 2021 Ford Explorer police cruiser or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $12,272.25 from free cash to the police cruiser lease account 001-210-5850-000 to pay the lease payment on a 2021 Ford Explorer police cruiser.
Second.
Recommendation of the Finance, please.
The Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green buttons. All those opposed would use the red buttons, please. All those voted who wish, I declare ballot box closed. 74 yeses, 8 noes, 0 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 16, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the purpose of purchasing a new snowplow assembly or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to transfer $9,000 from free cash for the purposes of purchasing a new snowplow assembly.
Second.
Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green buttons. All those opposed, please use the red buttons. All those voted who wish, declare the ballot box closed. 72 yeses, 4 noes, 0 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 17, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for the purpose of funding, plumbing, electrical, lighting, light carpentry, and landscape evaluation as necessary repairs in various town buildings as detailed in a recently completed facility evaluation and management plan and in need of immediate action, including all incidental and related expenses, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, these articles and different items have come before the Capital Improvement Committee for quite a few years. Again, not having the money, we were diligent in not authorizing it or approving it in the past. But this did pass the committee, and therefore, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $50,000 from free cash for the purpose of funding plumbing, electrical, light carpentry, and landscaping evaluation and necessary repairs in various town buildings as detailed in the recently completed facilities evaluation and management plan and in need of immediate action, including all incidental and related expenses. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote favorably on this article.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green buttons. All those opposed would use your red buttons. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 71 yeses, 6 noes, 1 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 18. Seems to be a little longer than I anticipated. We have big print up here, and it's more than one page, so.
Point of order.
Yes, Mr. Canacchioli.
I would like this august body to say to the moderator, he doesn't have to read that. We can read it.
Well, Mr. Canacchioli, I will handle it. I got a plan, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
I hope you don't have to read it.
Oh, no. I'm getting old. If there's no objection, I'm just going to read the first line or two there and get the general gist of it, and we'll go from there, and it's usually my decision in the past. And if someone has a problem with it, please tell me, or keep it to yourself so I don't have to read it. But Article 18, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to acquire by purchasing, gift, or eminent domain, and on such terms as select board deems appropriate, the fee to and or permanently and temporary easement in, on, under, or over certain parcels of land located near Palmagussit Road, Route 56. Memorial Drive, Miles Drive, Molten Mill, Vista Circle, a couple other roads there, and then you can read the rest. I think it's the general gist of the repairs that are happening on that section of road. Somebody else can make a motion.
Mr. Moderator, I move to approve Article 18 as set forth in the warrant and confirm the use of so-called Chapter 90 funds to officiate the action taken hereunder, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into all agreements and take any and all actions as may be necessary or appropriate to officiate the foregoing purposes.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance.
Finance Committee recommends favorable.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article?
Joe Becker, 18 Crestview Drive. Just a curiosity question. Number one, what is the amount of Chapter 90 that was allocated for the town of Rutland? And just, this is the curiosity piece. I know Chapter 90 is typically a fraction of what actually the town needs to maintain its road infrastructure. In a perfect world, in a given year, what's the money that we actually could use to do work on the roads, given the manpower that we have?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'll try to give an answer to this in round kind of estimates, because I don't have the exact amount in front of me. Generally received between $350 and $400 and so thousand of Chapter 90 money. This particular project, most of which is funded through what's called a TIP program, which is federal government money that comes to our regional council, our regional planning council. So most of this project is being funded with federal funds, not local Chapter 90 funds.
I believe Mr. Becker asked more questions than you answered.
Who?
If I can summarize, Mr.
Sure.
Becker asked how much Chapter 90 money came. You said that answer, 350 to 400.
Right.
Mr. Becker also asked how much could the town use to do the infrastructure repairs that are needed for the road. Is that correct, Mr. Becker?
So there's a portion of Chapter 90 funding is going to this project, and I can ask our DPW director to give you that exact amount. Obviously, it's a small portion of the total cost of this particular project. So Chapter 90 money, that 300 to 400,000 area, is spread out against all road projects. So what it says, Joe, quite frankly, is that we don't get nearly enough money to fix our roads, and that's why you see a lot of, fixing potholes and kind of maintenance stuff, crack sealing, than you do actual repairs to roads. So this road is being done, and there's a couple other roads that are going to be done by the use. The state's going to come in and take care of Route 56 and another road with their funding, but we do whatever we can with very limited road funds.
Okay, and through the moderator, I apologize, it was my misunderstanding. So this article is specifically for the TIP project relative to all the work on Palmagussit?
Correct, although there is a portion of Chapter 90 funds that are into that, because you have to have some matching funds to it. And usually, I think it's mostly, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, for like engineering and planning is mostly where that Chapter 90 funds are directed to.
Okay, and again, through the moderator, I guess the point I was trying to drive home, I was under the impression this was our regular Chapter 90 allocation, and it's not. I understand that now. The point I was trying to drive home is we have a ton of infrastructure needs on roads in general. notwithstanding Palmagussit, which is great that that tip is there. And that really the only money that we use on an annual basis to do any work on our roads is what we get in Chapter 90, which is a small fraction of what we really need to do the work that's required on our roads. That's what I was trying
You're
to
100% accurate, Joe.
Dick Williams, 35 Overlook. Question is, probably to the town council, when you buy right-of-way, you're not supposed to be using the tip money for that? Is the chapter money okay on that?
That's better for Joe. That question should be directed to our DPW director, not to our legal counsel. If it's okay, Mr. Moderator, if the DPW director attempts to answer that question for us, please.
Come up to the mic. Nobody will be able to hear you, please, Joe. Mr. Buckley. Did you hear the question, Joe?
Right of way, to purchase that, the town was supposed to use their own money for that and not tip money. And I was under the impression chapter money, and I'm not positive on this, and that's why I need a clarification. Can chapter money be used, or does it have to come out of the general fund?
Okay. To the best of my knowledge, I called the district engineer. We can't use Chapter 90 money. We are not using that money to buy the entire right-of-way. Most of the right-of-way already exists. This gives us permission and puts funding in place to purchase construction easements, small easements to move utility poles, places where the road's wide, and to have retaining walls and the like installed. Most of the right-of-way already exists. We can't go forward with the project, which, by the way, is around $8 million. Well, they can't pay in the back.
Come up to the mic.
All right. As far as, I called the district engineer at District 3. Yes, we can use Chapter 90 money to fund the purchases needed to complete the project. Under state and federal regulation, all of the purchases for the right-of-way have to be done in advance of the project going out for bid. Correct. That has to be in place. Most of the roadway is already there, or what's taken in fee or the limits of the roadway are already there. To widen the road in a couple places and to account for utility updates and construction easements and slope easements, we have to take little slivers here and there. That's basically what this does. It gives us permission to do that. We've put aside, we estimate as much as $200,000, but it could come in much less, we don't know. All of the parcels and easements have to be appraised first. I hope that answers your question.
It does. I have to sign this.
To me, it was
Central Mass Regional Planning, and over the years, a lot of towns had to withdraw because they did not use the funds properly.
And at the same time, we're up around $8 million, and that state's actually said we probably won't be able to get any more money than that. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, Mr.
Just a
Rochelle.
point. Even though we're only going to use maybe a little bit of our regular Chapter 9, Joe, before you go, can you tell everybody what the value of this project is? I think it's pretty impressive for what you're doing there. What's the value of this, what you're going to do there?
Not me personally.
No.
It's
Well, Randy just got a pay raise tonight, so he could help you.
Yeah, that's right.
The town's been working on it for approximately 5 years. It's a federal transportation project that's given up by the local planning agency, which in this case is the Central Mass Regional Planning, and it's managed by Mass DOT. But the current engineer's estimate is around $8 million.
$8 million.
To go from Main to
Awesome.
the subdivisions. That includes sidewalks, retaining walls. It's estimated to start construction in October of '22.
Good job.
Good job.
Is there any other discussion on this article? Is there any other discussion on this article? Is there any other discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by hitting your green buttons. All those opposed will be the red buttons. Oh, and this has to be 2/3. This has to be 2/3, which we don't have to count because we have the automation. I don't know if the computer tells me that. We can figure the math out together.
I think you can handle it by looking at the numbers.
Yeah, I guess you're right. All those voted who wish. I declare the ballot box closed. 87 yeses, 2 noes, 1 abstain, 2/3. I carry it passed. Thanks for voting that way for me, folks. Moving on to Article 19, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of MGL Chapter 140, Section 139, Paragraph C, to provide that a person aged 70 or over in the town of Rutland shall not be charged a dog license fee as long as the applicant is filed by the required date or taken any action in relation thereto. Are you making the motion?
I have a question first.
Can't ask a question until the motion is made, please.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I thought the clerk was
Who's making a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to accept the provisions of MGL Chapter 140, Section 139, Paragraph C, to provide that a person aged 70 years or over in the town of Rutland shall not be charged a dog license fee so long as the application is filed by the required date.
Does this motion receive support?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the finance, please. Karen?
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Now, is there any discussion? That was close.
Hi, Carol Martens, 127 Pleasantdale. Is there an amount that, a rough amount that this actually we're talking about money-wise?
Is this one on? It was a little hard to estimate. I don't, dog licenses are $10 for a dog that's spayed and neutered and 15 for one that is not altered. I don't expect it to be a big loss of revenue. A lot of area towns have passed this recently. And
We
they-
have,
oh,
sorry, go ahead.
No, and the other provision is that they still have to license the dog by March 31st. Otherwise, the $25 late fee will kick in.
Gotcha. According to the paperwork you've handed out, we have 9,300 over 55 people right now. Big portion of those are probably 70 or over. I mean, for us to pay $10, why, special provisions because you're 70, probably a third of the people in this room are over 70. I recommend we vote against it.
Is there any other discussion on this article?
I want to buy a dog.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as it reads, hit green. All those opposed will be red. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. Yeses 66, 22 noes, 1 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 20, to see if the town will vote to adopt/re-adopt and accept the provisions of Section 20 of Chapter 32B of the Massachusetts General Law as amended by Section 15 of Chapter 218 of the Acts of 2016, establishing an other post-employment benefit liability trust fund to authorize the Select Board and Treasurer to execute a declaration of trust creating an expendable trust for the purpose of holding monies appropriated to such funds, to designate the treasurer as a trustee of such trust, to authorize the transfer of any and all monies currently held for the purpose of paying retirees' health and life benefit to such trust, and to authorize the trustee to invest and reinvest the monies in such funds in accordance with the prudent invest or rule established under Chapter 203C of the Massachusetts General Law, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to adopt, re-adopt, and accept the provisions of Section 20 of Chapter 32B of Massachusetts General Law as amended by Section 15 of Chapter 218 of the Acts of 2016, establishing an other post-employment benefits liability trust fund, to authorize the Board of Selectmen and Treasurer to execute a declaration of trust creating an expendable trust for the purpose of holding monies appropriated to such fund, to designate the treasurer as the trustee of such trust, to authorize the transfer of any and all monies currently held for the purpose of paying retiree health and life benefits to such trust, and to authorize the trustee to invest and reinvest the monies in such fund in accordance with the prudence investment rule established under Chapter 203C of the Massachusetts General Law.
Does this motion receive support?
Second.
Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorable.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green buttons. All those opposed, please use your red buttons. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 74 yeses, 5 noes, 3 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 21, to see if the town will vote to amend the town zoning bylaws by adding to the Article 3 use regulations, Section 8 residential district, to a new subsection F, accessory dwelling unit, as set forth in the handouts entitled November 18th, 2021 special meeting, proposed zoning bylaw accessory dwelling unit, Article 21, as on file with the town clerk, or take any action in relation thereto.
Oh, you're giving the motion, yeah. Mr. Moderator, I move the town vote to amend the town zoning bylaw by adding to Article 3, Use Regulations, Section 8, Residence District, a new subsection F, accessory dwelling unit, all as set forth in the handout entitled November 18th, 2021 Special Town Meeting, Proposed Zoning Bylaw, Accessory Dwelling Unit, Article 21, handed out at today's town meeting and also on file with the town clerk.
Does this motion receive support? Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of Finance?
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Recommendation of the Planning Board?
Mr. Moderator, the planning board recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article?
Mike Sullivan, Crawford Road. I just have one question, or I'm looking for clarification on. I understand the reason for this, and I think it's commendable to do. The question I have, though, is on a detached accessory building, it says here, if I'm reading it correctly, that building can be as large as 1,000 square feet. Is that a correct statement?
The Planning Board is shaking their head yes.
Okay. So I'm just trying to understand in my head, if you take a 20 by 40 ranch house, that's an 800 square foot building. So what we're going to allow is a building larger than the existing structure on the same lot as that existing structure, as long as it meets the setback requirements. So if I'm not mistaken, and again, maybe the Planning Board can help me here, down in the older homes that were built on Anthony Drive in that area, the 3-bedroom ranches, I think most of those houses are like 20 by 40, so that's an 800 square foot building on a lot that's, I think, 15,000 square feet. So if that house, when it was built, if the homeowner said, I want to build as far back in my lot as I can because I want a big front yard, what we're saying here, I think, is they could build a new 1,000 square foot building right in front of that house and basically have two houses on the same lot. Is that a correct statement?
Come to the mic, please, so everybody can hear.
It's okay. Technically, I would have to say, yes, that is correct. However, one of the things you have to bear in mind is that any of this construction must meet all of the setback requirements. And the chances of being able to fit that on whatever usable space there is pretty slim. I'm not saying it can't be done.
but it would be very, very unusual. Secondly, just the idea of the purpose of this detached unit was we felt that there are probably some situations where there might be, let's say, a handicapped person who is able to basically mostly live by themselves, but needs some help, but doesn't really desire to have to live in a, quotes, attached apartment. We're trying to offer as many options as we can.
Norm, I get that, and I agree with it, and I understand it, and I think it's a great idea. The one thing that bothers me, though, is you said it's possible, probably not likely, but possible, and I think you know as well as I do, having served on the planning board for so long, that if it's possible, you're going to see it. I mean, you see it in lot layouts, you see it in illusionary frontage, all of those kinds of things that we've had to deal with in the past. I just worry, I agree with every part of it and the intent of it, except for this detached section. It's troubling to me that it is possible that you could theoretically be a neighbor to someone who builds basically a bigger house than is on your lot right now, and you got to live next to it. And that just doesn't seem fair to me. If the accessory build, the detached section wasn't so broad, I would be 200% in favor of this. But this particular aspect of it, to me, again, to your point, if it's possible, you can bet it's going to happen. So,
is there any other discussion on this article?
Tom Galvin, 27 Grizzly Drive. I just have, I have a house that was built 8 years ago with an in-law on it. A little confused, do we have to reapply for a permit after the fact, or so there's no special permit we have to get after? Doesn't change our...
I'm sorry, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's already approved and grandfathered, no, you don't have to go through that.
All right, thank you.
James Smith, 136 Glenwood Road. The question I have, is that for existing properties, or can new construction now build two houses on one lot?
There, yes.
Is this for existing properties, or can new construction now place two houses on one lot?
Come closer, Norm. Please.
It applies to existing structures and also to any new construction.
Say that again?
Okay. So, in other words, if someone already has a house and they want to add an in-law apartment, they may do so. If they are building a new house and want to include an in-law apartment, they can also do that. By the way, all of these in-law apartments are only by special permit, which requires a public hearing, requires a butter notification, and so forth.
Yeah, the reason I was asking is because if you're building new construction, you should already have that idea in when you build the house to either build it bigger, but putting two separate houses on one lot, that's, you're allowing two houses on one lot. If you're going to add an in-law, you do it when you build a house. One house. That's all I'm asking.
Mike Sullivan again, and I don't want to belabor this point, but what the gentleman just said now kind of created another scenario to me. Let's just suppose that someone comes in and buys a lot in town, a 15,000 square foot lot. This new regulation is adopted, and they specifically build their first house as close to the lot line as they can, because they know full well they're going to be able to come back and theoretically build another lot, basically do it by design. I think that potential is there, unless I'm missing something. So I'd like to see something done with the detached section of this regulation. I agree 200% with it, you know, to keep families together, in-laws, all of those things I think is perfect. It's just the detached part that, again, now the new scenario I just created is even more troubling, I think, to the way it's written. Thank you.
Other comments?
Michelle Van Reet, 230 Charnock Road. And I guess it brings up the question, what happens when you sell the house later? Like the need for the in-law goes away. So what happens later when you sell your house? Is that restriction still there, and who monitors that? Or can it be turned into an Airbnb or something like that?
There is no requirement that the accessory apartment be occupied by a relative. There is a requirement, however, that one of the units must be occupied by the owner of the dwelling. If that answers your question, I hope.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? This is a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please signify by your green buttons. All those opposed will be the red buttons, please. You might have to do math this time, folks.
It's not going to be any bad.
All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. Yeses are 42s, noes are 44, abstain is 4. Motion is defeated because it had to be 2/3. I was good in math. Moving on to Article 22. To see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the certified water and sewer retained earnings, water and sewer free cash, to pay for the development of the risk and the resilience assessment and resulting plan for the town drinking water supply system, including all incidental and related costs, or take any actions in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $27,000 from certified water and sewer retained earnings, water and sewer free cash, to pay for the development of a risk and resilience assessment and resulting plan for the town drinking water supply systems, including all incidental or related costs.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, please vote yes with green, noes with red, please. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 68 yeses, 1 no, 6 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 23, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the certified water and sewer retained earnings, water and sewer free cash, to pay for development of a written drought management plan that follows American Water Works Association Drought Management Plan Guidelines, AWWA 2002, for the town drinking water supply, including all incidentals or related costs, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $20,000 from certified water and sewer retained earnings, water and sewer free cash, to pay for the development of a written drought management plan that follows American Water Works Association Drought Management Planning Guidance, AWWA 2002, for the town drinking water supply system, including all incidental or related costs.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the Finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green buttons. What's that?
Sorry to speak up, but how much, what was the amount?
$20,000.
I'm sorry if I didn't hear it.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green button. All those opposed, please use your red button.
Mike. Mike. You can do it right after this vote closes.
We're almost there, Randy. Let's go.
All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 72 yeses, 6 noes, 3 abstain. Motion carries.
Point of order. I'd like to request a vote to reconsider Article 21.
A motion
So
is...
tell me how to do that, Mr. Moderator.
A motion has been made, it has to get seconded, and then we will vote on it, and that's all, if that passes, majority, I believe, passes majority, and then we can go back and have discussion to reconsider that vote. You are in the, you're in the no, because that was the prevailing side of it, so you, I would assume you are. And in turn, then we can go back and have a discussion about that to reconsider that vote.
So was my request a motion?
You've already requested the motion, so now
Okay.
I'm looking for support. A motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion to reconsider? All you're doing is giving him an opportunity to talk about it again.
Reconsider what article?
21.
Well,
All I'm looking for is discussion on the reconsider. Okay, that's fine.
May I, the planning board has an amendment that they're willing to propose that I think will satisfy the concerns that I had in the original vote, if that helps anybody understand what's going on.
Is there any other discussion on the reconsideration?
That's fine, but I have a problem with the fact that it got beat pretty bad. If it was 1 or 2 votes, I'd say, okay, but it got beat pretty badly. So 44 people in here agreed with you that this shouldn't happen. I wasn't one of them, by the way, but I just think that we're taking up too much time to reconsider. Well, something that was defeated so soundly.
Is there any other discussion on the reconsideration? That's all we're talking about, whether we're giving them an opportunity to come back and reconsider. Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Are you okay to? Yeah. So all we are voting on at this time is to discuss Article 21 again. As long as everybody understands it, you're not voting in favor or opposed to Article 21. Well, you are, but you're not. You're really, all you're giving is an opportunity for a gentleman to speak. All those in favor, and this is just majority, please use your green button to allow Mike to talk again. All those opposed, please use your red button. Mr. Sullivan. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 41 yeses, 36 noes, 3 abstain. So the motion carries. So now we can go back and discuss Article 21. And do you make a new?
The motion's actually on the table, the same exact one as when we voted.
Okay.
So, Mr. Moderator, the planning board has an amendment to my objection, my concerns on the original article that I guess I'd allow them to present that amendment.
Mr. Moderator, I move to amend the proposed zoning bylaw accessory dwelling unit Article 21 as follows. Delete the language either and or in an attached accessory building as that language appears in the first sentence of section F.3.a. Delete section F.3-12 III, delete Section 8 in its entirety, and change the numbering of Section 9 to Section 8. Just some notes on this. It removes any language that would permit or allow a detached accessory apartment dwelling. It would have to be attached. It would have to be as either built within an existing building or as an addition to an existing building. Okay.
Does everyone understand what Mr.?
No.
No. All right, so I think to simplify what Mr. Anderson just said as the planning board is you can't have two dwellings on one lot, period. You got to have it within your house or put an addition on your house to have your favorite mother-in-law move in. Correct?
Hopefully you're only one. So the moderator is correct. My concern was the accessory building and the potential issues. What I don't know the details of what he said, letters and all that, but basically what it's doing is striking the opportunity to build a separate structure for this purpose. It has to either be within the existing structure or in addition to the existing structure, which satisfies my concern.
We're having discussion on the amendment, please.
John Rokicki, 17 Prouty Lane. A question through you, Mr. Moderator, to the planning board or anyone else who may be able to answer it. I know the scenarios that you've mentioned talk about the worst case scenario of the smallest lot size. R40, R60, what are the average sizes we're talking about here? Is it, I mean, in terms of total lot size, are we talking about 15,000 square foot lots, 30, 40, 60? Or is it completely separated, the numbering from the actual sizes? Because we're asked to adopt an amendment, which I would be in favor in to get even a part of this, but you're striking an option which I don't know if the worst case scenario really plays out in real life. So I'm looking to get an understanding of real sizes here.
I guess just because of over the years, our zoning requirements in town have changed in many, many ways. As Mr. Sullivan noted, some of the subdivisions, let's say around Nancy Drive and that area, I believe are like, 30,000 square foot lots. And maybe, I don't know, no, I don't think they're any smaller than that. We now have both R40 and R60 zoning. So those are 1 acre lots in parts of town near the center and 1.5 acre lots outside. We also have a special bylaw to allow estate lots, which have a minimum of 5 acres. And, on a lot like that, certainly, there would probably be maybe a bigger possibility of a separate unit.
So Nancy Drive, as an example, is an R40 zoned area, even though it's a 15,000 square foot?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I understand the question, but my concern doesn't necessarily have to do with the worst case scenario. It has to do with any scenario. And I hate to belabor this, but let's take our open space bylaw, which you folks know there's slews of them now built. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, those lots are 30,000 square feet. So theoretically, you could build a second house on that lot. And that's the problem. I don't care if it's an 1.5 acre lot. If I'm a neighbor living here and I'm a neighbor living here and I have an 1.5 acre lot, and the neighbor in the middle of me has an 1.5 acre lot, do I now want to live next to a piece of property that has 2 houses on it? No, I don't. Well, because it devalues the value. Oh, sorry. Through you, Mr. Moderator. Okay.
Mr. Becker?
I think it's just a clarification question on my part, but if we remove the accessory dwelling unit, the separate unit from the bylaw, how does that differ from what we already have today? I mean, you drive around town, you have in-law apartments on a lot of different houses. So what's the difference between, if we remove the separate dwelling unit, what's the difference between what this would do and what we already have?
Good point, Joe.
Well, Norm, would you like to answer publicly for the people that didn't hear the chitter chatter?
At this time, unless this bylaw passes, in-law apartments, accessory dwelling units are simply not legal. Okay? If they have been created, it's been by some kind of unknown magic. Let's put it that way.
Jean Grant, 2 Sycamore Drive. I just want to point out one thing as a parent. These are not always in-law apartments. Many children have special needs, disabilities, and cannot live on their own. And there are a lot of parents that don't know where their children are going to live and how they can sort of have an independent life. But by having an accessory dwelling or attached house, these children, especially children like with autism, they might be able to have a more normal adult life. And I know everybody keeps talking about in-laws. It's not all in-laws that are affected by these types of dwellings. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that it's not just in-laws. There are many other situations where these kind of buildings are very important for these children who grow up to be adults to have a near normal life for them.
Good point.
Last thing, I don't know where the amendment came from. It obviously, there had to be some anticipation here. Has the town council had an opportunity to look at that, and does it, in fact, strike the accessory use that is detached? So that's my only concern. You know, is it in fact doing what we want it to do?
Amen.
While she's looking at that, we'll continue with discussion, if you don't mind, to move things along.
Jen Ledger, Joanna Drive. I have 2 questions. One, with regards to the amendment, if we're talking about adding to an existing structure, would that be the residential portion? So if there's a detached garage, would they be able to add above it? Would that be part of, or would it strictly be just addition to existing residential area?
It could be in addition, I suppose, to a garage if the garage is attached to the house. If there's a detached garage, then nothing can be done in terms of the accessory dwelling.
And my other question is with regards to, I guess, assessing the value of that. If there is an accessory dwelling on the property, does that change property taxes for the town? So, and if this passes, is there any, once assessments go through on existing properties, would any, call it grandfathered accessory dwelling units be classified as so and then have additional property taxes?
So the first answer is yes.
Okay.
If you build it and it has square footage, that would be considered in the assessment as they went out and inspected the building. If the assessors were to find an existing accessory apartment that was there and not reported and had a building construction permit, they could change your assessment and force them to pay that assessment.
Okay. All right. So just to clarify, passing this could increase revenue for the town.
So anytime that you change your building and need to get a building, you're supposed to get a building permit and a significant change.
Right.
The assessor's department evaluates that and changes your assessment accordingly.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to make sure that was. Thank you.
So I wanted to point out 2 things. Lauren Goldberg, Town Council. The first thing is that one of the things that the planning board just brought up, which is if it's not a legal use now, and there's no bylaw, then in theory, the building commissioner or building inspector could come and prohibit you from having that use. So there is an upside to having this. It is still giving something to people that want to do that. The detached unit issue, the amendment is fine. That takes everything out that relates to it. But I did want to point out that the risk of not doing this is that anyone who wants to build a unit like this can't do it legally, because it would be in violation of zoning. And I will obviously defer to the planning board. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
The point is, anyone who has a current accessory unit is not supposed to, which was the point brought out a little while ago.
Is there any other discussion?
Not necessarily, no, it's not grandfathered.
A pre-existing.
Let's
Turn your mic off.
Rachel Dolan, Ware Road. So if somebody, for instance, wants to put an in-law apartment in their existing basement, you're telling me they can't do that? From what I understand of the law, if it's an existing house and they want to put an in-law in their existing basement, the Supreme Court ruled that there is no, you can have as many kitchens in your home as you wish. Yes, your septic has to be designed for the number of bedrooms, so if you're adding an additional bedroom, but I'm not sure so clear you're correct on that law.
You know, I can be corrected, but I want people to be aware of the risk. And so if there's a pre-existing non-conforming use, a pre-existing use that was allowed, then if the zoning changes, that original use continues to be allowed. But what I've been told is that it was not allowed, and so that would mean that the use would not be grandfathered. And in fact, the information in this bylaw itself talks about current existing accessory dwelling units in page 2, and the last paragraph there labeled M. So again, I think no one in the town is looking to go out and enforce a bylaw that would cause a hardship, but it's just important to know that this does give new units some protection, and it also would allow anybody who has an existing use to go in and request approval.
We're talking about the amendment, please.
I know. Lou Carnicoli. I thought the original motion was well-intended and a good one, and I voted yes. I think this amendment is muddying the water. What I would like to see is this amendment shot down, and I would like to see the planning board in May at the annual town meeting bring back the same exact article, bring it back to it, because I think it's a great thing. I think what the young lady talked about, it's just not about elderly people, although I'm elderly, but it's about special needs people, and I think it's well thought of, and I think it's a great idea. And there may be a situation where adding on may not be feasible, but a standalone structure would be. And I have the greatest respect for Mike Sullivan, but to me, I don't see any big deal. So the guy next door to me has 2 houses on his lot. Good luck to him if he's got the money to build it. This is America. We shouldn't be stopping this stuff. We should be encouraging it.
Is it? Certainly. You made it the last time.
I'm sorry. So I just wanted to point out that if the goal is to send this back to the planning board for further study, if this motion to amend fails, the next motion should be a motion to amend to refer to the planning board for further study. That preserves the ability to bring the exact same bylaw back in the spring.
It has to be in a motion?
I would suggest it to be on the safe side. No, I'm sorry. It's not that they wouldn't want to bring it back, it's that perhaps the law would, exclude them.
Sorry. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Is there any other discussion on the amendment?
Could you please restate the amendment?
To simplify the amendment, all you're doing is taking out the accessory dwelling. Detached. So you can't have two house lots.
Striking 3A3.
And a few others.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Is there any other discussion on the amendment? So all we're voting on at this time is the amendment to go back to the original article. All those in favor of the amendment, please use your green key. All those opposed, please use your red key. This also has to be 2/3 to go through, correct, Lauren?
It's a majority on the amendment.
I'm sorry, majority on the amendment. I stand corrected. All those voted who wish.
Oh, yeah, I did get it.
I declare the ballot box closed. 45 yeses, 40 noes, 3 yes. So the amendment has passed. 3 abstain. 45 yes, 40 no, 3 abstain. The amendment carries. Now we can have discussion on the article with the amendment. Is there any discussion? Or we can go right to the vote if you'd like. Is there any further discussion on the article with the amendment? Although this is 2/3, all those in favor, and you also, just in fairness to town council, we're going to vote on this, and if it goes down, then it could be potentially gone. If you choose to do an amendment, like Lauren suggested, and it goes down, it could come back at the next town meeting. Correct, Lauren? To summarize?
That's the worst case scenario, I would say. We could always make an argument because the planning board recommended this bylaw here today, but the court has been somewhat spotty in its handling of that situation. So, yes, in my opinion, Mr. Moderator, if this were to fail, someone could pop right up and say, I move to refer this to committee because there would be no positive action, and then they could just vote. Yep, so if this did.
Through the moderator, to that point, if it were to pass and the planning board still wants to come back with some element where there could be a separate structure component to it, can that still happen too, or are we better off just to send it back to them to reconsider the whole thing and come back at once?
They could make appropriate revisions so that it's not exactly the same. I have a feeling that they would get a lot of feedback about this issue now, and they could redo the detached accessory dwelling part to meet those concerns.
So no matter how we vote, they have the opportunity to bring it back either in their full intent or to change it up, or, okay.
That's why I suggested that. Yes, thank you.
Is there any other discussion on this article with the amendment? Hearing none. All those in favor of the article with the amendment, 2/3 vote in favor, green, yes. Those opposed would be no, in red, I think. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. There are screen things happening up here. So there are 59 yeses, 26 noes, 3 abstained, and where am I supposed to look on the screen?
26 and 26 is 52, so it passes. I said 26 and 26 is 52, so it passes.
So we needed, according to the screen, 2/3 majority would be 66% of the 88.
Mr. Moderator.
It has to actually be 85.
Mr. Moderator. No, Mr.
Yes, yes.
Can I show you the way that I look at it? What I try to do is I double that number, and if it's equal to or less than 59, then it's a 2/3 vote. So it satisfies that. So you do 26 times 2 equals 52, which is
less than 59 is approved by 2/3 vote. Yeah. And those other 3 votes don't count for anything.
Go ahead, Randy, say it.
You want me to explain to them?
No, you're the one that's gonna back it up, not me. 88 total people voted. 59 yeses, 26 noes, 3 abstain. So the 3 abstain doesn't count, right? According to Lauren, simple math, 26 times 2 is 54. 54 is
52.
I was just checking to make sure you guys knew that I wasn't, sleeping. So that's 52, which is lower than 59. So this motion carries, in your professional opinion.
Yes, because we're following the no's and there's the yeses are still.
What if all of the 3 abstentions count? Would it still have 59?
Mr. Moderator, abstentions are the equivalent of not casting a vote. And so the only reason we have abstentions at this meeting, for example, is because we have the clickers. If you think back to before the clickers, at the end of a vote, the moderator wouldn't say,
I respectfully disagree with you that it doesn't count, but that's okay. Does the 59 still pass if those 3 voted? So we've got the 2/3 no matter which scenario we use.
Yes, it still carries.
Thank you.
Motion carries, 2/3 majority passed on the bylaw with the amendment.
Oh, my God.
So everybody understands that for the most part?
We're getting close to the end.
Move on.
So now, we're leapfrogging back to where we were under Article 24. We finished 23 already. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from certified water and sewer retained earnings, water and sewer free cash, to purchase a new pump assembly for and rebuild one of the pumps at Miles Road Sewer Pump Station, including all incidental and related costs, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, having been submitted to and approved through the Capital Improvement Planning Committee, I move that the town vote to transfer $27,500 from certified water and sewer retained earnings, water and sewer free cash, to purchase a new pump assembly for and rebuild one for the pumps at the Miles Road Sewer Pump Station, including all incidental and related costs. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote favorably on this.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by your green keys. All those opposed will be the red keys, please. All those voted who wish, we declare the ballot box closed. 75 yeses, 6 noes, 3 abstain. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 25, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the certified water and sewer retained earnings, water and sewer free cash, to the FY 2022 water and sewer enterprise budget approved under Article 11 of June 5th, 2021 town meetings for the FY 2022 water operation reserved for continued update to the water filtration facility, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $125,000 from certified water and sewer retained earnings, water and sewer free cash, to the fiscal year 2022 water and sewer enterprise budget approved under Article 11 of the June 5th, 2021 town meeting for fiscal year 22 water operations reserve for continued updates to the water filtration facility.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Recommendation of the finance, please.
Finance Committee recommends favorably.
Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Is there any discussion on this article? Hearing none, all those in favor, please use your green keys. All those opposed would be the red keys. All those that voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 58 yeses, 5 noes, 3 abstentions. Motion carries. Moving on to Article 26, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from available funds, including free cash, the sum of $88,931.71 to fund town services and supplies, vendors, and other necessary materials, including all incidental and related costs, or take any action in relation thereto.
Mr. Moderator, we move that the town appropriate from free cash the sum of $88,931.71 to fund wages, services, and supplies of town departments, vendors, and other necessary materials related to the year-long tricentennial and 4th of July celebration events.
I second.
Motion is made and seconded. Recommendation on finance?
The Finance Committee has no recommendation on this article.
Mr. Moderator, Jeff Stillings, 3 Lord Lane. I wish to tender a friendly amendment to reduce that amount by $30,000.
Does an amendment receive support? Second. A motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendment? We're talking about just the amendment, please.
Mr. Moderator, again, we are very grateful for Article 6 and the beginnings of what we think is in the right direction. We're in uncharted territory here to a point. Not only is this going to be a very special year, but it's going to be a year where we are coming out of 2 years lost. So most of us in this room know what a regular 4th of July looks like. None of us knows what this upcoming year is going to look like. The cost estimates that we are using are just that. They are estimates. They are not meant to be a line item. We know that there is flexibility in those amounts, and we are aware that not all of them might be used all at once. We do not believe that $30,000 is enough to maintain the safety of the town with the unknowns in place, and we are respectfully asking that our amendment, which is our amount minus the amount that the town has already very generously given, be considered.
Mr. Chairman, if I can do a point of order, please. Just to be clear, I want to make, just to be clear, because of the way the motion was made, I just want to make sure we're doing it correctly. I'm not sure that it's appropriate for a town committee to bring forward an article for potentially think that motion should be made by an individual, not by a town organization. I would refer that to the town attorney to answer that question for us. I just want to make sure it's done correctly. This microphone's not working?
No, it is, Randy. It's making a lot of noise.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Can you hear me through this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's some question as to should a town committee or organization be able to bring forth a petition question. That's really supposed to be brought forth by a group of individuals. So we just want to clarify that to make sure that it's done correctly before we move forward, if that's okay. So I'm referring the question to the town attorney just to make sure we do it right.
Through you, Mr. Moderator. In this case, the committee is comprised of town residents, and as long as this was certified, in my opinion, it's okay for it to, I will say the minutes are going to reflect that the motion was made by an individual. Okay?
Thank you. We just wanted to make sure that there was no mistake here and we got it correct.
Is there any other discussion on the amendment? All we're talking about is on the amendment right now to reduce the amount by $30,000.
Point of order. I'd like to understand that this is truly a friendly amendment, which is by fact, it changes the main motion as opposed to simply an amendment which has to be voted on in the main motion. If it was a friendly amendment, generally there's no vote because it's friendly. It takes effect immediately. So
Town council said the main motion would have had to have been $30,000 left to be a friendly motion. This is just a formality of doing what,
Okay, so then it's not a friendly amendment, it's merely an amendment? Correct. Okay, thank you.
is there any other discussion on the amendment? So all we're going to do now is vote on the amendment. All those in favor of reducing the amount by $30,000, please signify by hitting your green key. And if you're opposed to reducing it by $30,000, then hit your red key, which has no relevance on the main motion at all. All it does is reduce that amount that you're going to ask for on the other motion here in a moment. Potentially reduce the amount. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot closed. 71 yeses, 13 noes, 3 abstain. So now, is there any discussion on the article with the amendment?
I'm just going to take one opportunity. Sheila Dibb, 209 Palmagussit Road. I just first want to thank a group of people that we've now been working with for several months. The Rutland Historical Society, who's already put together an amazing year's worth of events to celebrate next year. The Rutland Historical Commission, who has practically single-handedly improved our actual central tree and saved our prison camps. The Rutland 4th of July Committee, who's gone through 2 very difficult years, and the Rutland 300th Committee, some of whom were here for the 250th and the 275th, who are a simply tireless group, and it has been a privilege to work with them, so I just want to say thank you. We recognize that this is a lot of money. We listed examples here of where this money is going to go, but we want to make it very clear that, again, we are in very uncharted territory when it comes to next year. We know for a fact that we have situations within the town budget where we are not where we used to be and not where the town was accustomed to being relative to supporting town events. Now, we gave a breakdown, and I recognize that some people got really fixed on 1 or 2 things. We mentioned the playground because we watched as the playground was overrun during our summer concert series. We know it gets the same amount of attention during particularly the fireworks night. We know there was some attention given specifically to the police line items. However, we also believe that it would be beneficial for the police department and our chief to be able to purchase things like crosswalk signs. Again, these are issues that we saw happen this summer when we began with some of these events. We have a lot of options out there for funding, and I think one of the most important things tonight is to make it clear to the body that we are going after every single one of those options that we can find. We're talking grants, we're talking requests to our state senator and our state representative for monies. That is a very typical thing to do for a big tricentennial year like we have, and we anticipate getting money for that. We are going after every sponsorship we can. However, this meeting tonight is our last chance to secure funding to help us get through some of these big events here in town if some of the other funding sources either don't come through or come through too late. So for example, on the state monies, if that comes in through the state budget, we may not see that until after the 4th of July happens, depending on how the state budget works. We really want to make that clear that for us, this is placeholder just in case money. We hope we don't have to use it. If in fact we came back here in May and the budget looks very healthy and our town department's budgets are made whole, this is money that simply will not have to be used. Nothing will make us happier, or at least me, than coming back here next November and being able to say that this article still has money in it and that we can return it to the town. We know this town needs a lot. We know that we all make choices about what's important to us. And I don't think that it needing a lot is going to change anytime soon. Not this year, not next year, not in the next 10. We don't take this amount of money lightly. We did not reach this amount of money without a lot of thought put into it. We are all very hopeful that we won't need much of it, if any. However, this is our last shot. We want to make sure we get this right. We want to make sure the town is protected. We want to make sure that it's ready. We want to make sure that it's taking every step it can to keep its liability low for what we believe will be record-breaking crowds for a very big year for this town. We really appreciate all of your support thus far. Thank you.
Tim Norwald, 149 Palmagussit. I'll start out. I'm all for 300th and 4th of July. The question I've got for this article was the one I had for 6. The way I read this and looked at it, it looked like these dollars were going back into the budgets, not going to the article, which means they could be used in any which way they want, and I have a problem with that.
Okay, so quite frankly, me and the attorney have been trying to discuss the wording that was proposed, which causes, can you hear me?
Just barely.
Okay, so myself and the attorney were discussing the article, the way that it's worded, and we're going to be recommending a friendly amendment to clarify the way it's drafted, because it's drafted in such a way as it doesn't quite work in terms of how it goes. So first I also want to thank both committees, and I worked very hard with them, and the chair of the 300th anniversary is correct. We've asked the state legislators for funds for this as well, and we're hoping that money comes through, and I believe that some money will come through from them. The concern I have is not that we give money to this group, but I think the amounts are too high, in my opinion, based upon what we need. For instance, the $38,000, as it was explained to me in the explanation, was to take care of police funding, and I think I've explained it. I believe that to be too high, that we don't need that 38 grand, that the 30 grand will cover that. Now, truthfully, I just learned about this amendment recently. This wasn't something that was brought to me, and I had a lot of time to discuss this. The chair did just add some new pieces to that, which are not in the explanation, things like signage and stuff for the police department that was not part of the explanation, that maybe there could be some funds for. So a couple of things just to kind of explain my concerns. And I first want to make one thing really clear. And I'll be honest with everybody here, after this is all over tonight, we're going to have about $300,000 estimate left free cash. And that money, the reason I left it there is because we have a huge amount of facility need problems that we have to take care of. The senior center, as many of you know, the siding is disgusting. It's got holes in it. It's all mold. The library and the senior center both need windows. We have a whole host of real facilities management needs, and whatever we spend out of this free cash for this event takes away from dealing with all those facility problems, and they benefit a lot of citizens. So I want to put that on the table. So I'm a little concerned about the 38 grand number, and I can only go with what's explained to me. The $24,000 for DPW was for a variety of issues. It's in the explanation. Part of it was to review the needs of the playground behind Town Hall, and it was explained to me that there potentially was some liability issues with that playground. There's going to be a lot of children that go on that playground during these events, right? So I made it a point myself to go out and analyze and look at this playground and walk through and look at every piece to see if there were any sharp edges, if there was any liability issues that might be of concern. I brought the DPW director over to look at the park as well, and we didn't really see any liability issues. We found the seatbelt on the handicapped swing was broken and needs to be replaced. We saw a shovel that digs up sand the kids can do that was missing a seat and some bolts. We took that out. I think the park is in good condition. I think it's old, it's getting outdated, and at some point we're gonna have to replace the equipment, but I don't see any liability issues. And I checked with our insurance company about that, and they didn't have any major concerns about it as well. I don't think we need, part of this money was going to be to hire somebody to come in and analyze that thing and look for liability. I think that's a waste of money. I don't think it's needed. Another part of the money that was explained to me that I'm not convinced that we need to spend is, some of you may remember that a couple of years ago we did some, and I wasn't here for this, but there was some landscaping done to improve the look in front of the church and the town hall and everything else. Well, the truth is that the town is not, and does not, because we keep cutting town budgets, does not have the funds to have DPW maintain that landscaping and keep it nice. So I was told that the committee felt that they want the town to look beautiful for the 300th anniversary, for all the people coming in, that we should spend the 14 grand again and effectively fix everything that has deteriorated since then. I'm not convinced that that 14 grand is a right expenditure. So I have concerns about that. Another part of this I leave to you to look at, and I don't even want to attempt to evaluate, is a recommendation in the explanation of $22,931.71 to match the amount of money that's already been raised by the 4th of July committee. And I discussed this with the chairman of the 4th of July committee, who said, we're having fireworks, but we think the 300th anniversary is special. We would like to double that. Usually they cost 10 grand. Inflation has made them 12 grand. We would like to double that and make the fireworks much bigger for the 300th. We'd like to double that amount. So that's 12 or 14 grand. They also need things like porta potties because of the amount of people coming in. So, I personally don't have an issue with that 22 grand, but that's not my decision, it's yours. So that 22 grand I'm comfortable with, but you guys have to make the decision as to how much of that free cash you want to give up for this in lieu of other repairs that need to be done on town facilities. So I'm giving you the information, and I guess I suggest do it as you wish. I do think that the event's a great event, and if the town decides to give more money towards that event, it's not going to bother me at all. The question is, what's the appropriate amount is something that you guys have to decide. Thank you.
Peter Crane, Nate's Way. I think you answered one of my questions. If I understood what you said correctly, right now, with everything that we've passed at this meeting, that we have roughly $300,000 in free cash. Is that correct?
Correct.
When do you see bringing the other issues you were mentioning to town meeting?
So as you know, Peter, we have a lot of budget issues in this town, and it's always a problem of what we're going to cut. Now, I'm going to say it directly to everybody. I don't think we should use free cash to fund budget items ongoing. But I would expect that other capital items will be evaluated, things like the siding of the senior building, things like the windows at the library, things like the windows at the senior center, will be looked at and evaluated with the capital improvement committee for the annual town meeting in May.
Thank you.
Lou Carnicoli, I wasn't going to say anything on this article because I think it's going to pass. It's just a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but I have to. Mr. Town Administrator, you just gave the most negative scenario I've ever heard I've been here since 1973. I came to my first town meeting. Well, thank you. Must be a former student. I came here my first town meeting in 1973, okay? I've never heard such negativity. We just put $50,000 at the beginning of this program into $1 million plus stabilization fund, and we're worried about $56,000 that may not be spent, that could go back into the coffers. If we vote this down, it is the biggest travesty in the history of this town. How many times has 300 come around? Once. Think of the learning experience for all the kids in this town that don't know much about Rutland. This is the center of the state. We were almost a county. If it wasn't for the hill and the horses dying, it would have been Rutland County, not Worcester County. We have extensive history, and we're going to sit on our hands for the 300th. Please vote this thing in unanimously. Great job, by the way, committee. Great job.
Thank you, sir. Jeff Stillings, 3 Lord Lane. Just want to echo a portion of what Ms. Dibb had said, and I think the key takeaway from this is placeholder. I like to use the word set aside. We're not looking to buy a Ferris wheel or purchase an elephant. We are asking the town to be minimally aware that next year is a big deal to us. Be minimally aware that we are going to have some events, that we need to have some backup, a plan in there. You'd be surprised to know that there's $0 allocated to our police department to provide for detail and traffic support for the 4th of July. Be minimally aware that June 18th is our 300th birthday. We are going to have an extravaganza that weekend. We're going to call on resources from our police department. Our fire department needs to be adequately staffed. Anything that comes up. I was organizing the town concerts, and I had to call on the DPW countless times because we had some problems. The electricity's not working, and had to make sure that everything was the appearance was looking good, that it had to be mowed and stuff. There needs to be some funding behind that to support those things. And kudos to our police chief, kudos to our fire chief, and our DPW chief for supporting so far. So just please, this is a set aside. We're not looking to buy an elephant. set aside money to be minimally aware that next year's a big deal, so that when we do need our police department to come and do traffic enforcement, they can pull from that. And like Sheila said, yeah, we're working on some great grants, and very likely that we might be able to do that with the state, and we'll give it back. But this is our last opportunity, because our next meeting is May, and our 300th birthday is June, right? So that's why we're here tonight. Thank you, Mr. Cannacchioli. I do agree with you, sir. Thank you.
Karen Greenwood, 7 Breezy Lane. I was on the 4th of July committee for 20 years. And in that 20 years, when we ran 3 or 4 days worth of events, we never went to the town for money. I think the last time the town came up with any money was at the 275th, and they got $85,000. So I am just asking on behalf of the committee, because I've worked with all of them, and Scott here did it for 25 years before me. I'm just asking that the voters here support this. It's a very worthwhile.
Darren Ross, 5 Rufus Putnam Lane in Rutland. I'm going to argue the point a little differently. Sheila made an article, well, they made an amendment, and they've got roughly $60,000 for the 4th of July celebration for this 300th. I've been cooped up for a couple of years here. I've missed 2 parades. This is the last one that I'm probably going to see a big 300th. I'm not going to see the 350th, that's for damn sure. I don't care what these people do with the 60 grand. I want them to, let's have some fun. I am so sick of what we're doing. Let's just get through this. There's nothing in Sheila's motion. There's nothing in Sheila's motion or this committee's motion that says where they spend the money. They're good people. I think they're considerate people. They're going to be fine. I also sit on the finance committee, and it's my job to try to make everybody in this room have money and save money and do whatever I want. As a taxpayer, I want to spend every bit of that having fun on the 4th of July. Enough said.
Harry Seckman, 13 Beachway Drive, Rutland. I am somewhat disappointed to hear some of the comments directed at our town administrator for doing his job. Okay? Let's face it, there are 2 issues here. Number 1 is the 4th of July committee and the 4th of July. The other is paying for it. What I don't want to see is double dipping. If our town administrator tells us that $20,000 for the police will take care of the job, and that's looking at the high end, is that what you said? Why are we now looking at $38,000? He discussed it with the chief of police. They agreed. Why are we now giving $38,000? Okay, it should be 20, because that's what's in here. Secondly, whether the town votes for this or not, that's up to the town. But to disparage somebody because he's doing his job is very disheartening to me. This is an open meeting, open discussion where we get the facts, we have feelings, and we talk. So doesn't matter to me. I mean, to me, I think $38,000 for police when it was discussed at 20. I think Parks and Recreation for what we're doing. Some of that stuff comes through our committee. We're superseding the job that committees are supposed to be doing now and directing money to say, hey, go do this. I'm just uncomfortable with the numbers here. I am not uncomfortable with the 4th of July committee. I think they're doing their job. They're doing the best they can. But the kind of money they're requesting is a little over the top for me. That's just my concern.
Hi, Tressa Santillo, 124 Charnock Hill Road. I have appreciated everyone's discussion points tonight. I just want to say that in response to what the town administrator said, I agree with the gentleman before me. He is doing his job. He is trying to do the best for this town. I just want to say that we all know we're in the pandemic right now, and because of that, there may be other funding sources available that perhaps the town could strongly look into taking advantage of, such as the ARPA funds, the federal ARPA funds, and also, I don't know if anyone noticed, but we have a clinic at our library, and I think there's money coming from that, from COVID. So if there's some way the town could take advantage of that, that does not impact the 4th of July funds, I think that would be great. So when we're talking about the repairs and things like that, I hope the Finance Committee and the Select Board can really seriously figure out, can we use some of that money and for what on like some of our town repairs that we desperately need without impacting the money that this town wants, like for the 4th of July. So, thank you.
Jeff Stillings, 3 Lord Lane, briefly. Just a couple point of clarifications. It may appear that way if you briefly read the motion, but the money that is being asked is not going to the 300th anniversary committee. The 300th anniversary committee is not receiving a lump sum. It is requested that this amount be set aside for the police department, for the fire department, for the DPW department to plan ahead. And with all due respect, we're not just talking about the 4th of July. If you recall, we began the 300th anniversary celebration on August of this year, and it's going to end New Year's Day of the following year. As you may be aware, we have the Smithsonian traveling exhibit coming here. We're going to finish it with the Smithsonian coming here to take over the lower level of the library to do a 6-week traveling show. We are one of 6 towns in New England that were able to get that. And yes, to the speaker before me, it is very possible that we could use the COVID-related money to enhance tourism, but that hasn't been guaranteed to us. Again, placeholder is the word. Set aside is the word. Reasonably expect that we're going to be calling on services of our big departments, police, fire, and DPW, to have that there. Thank you.
Mike Pantos, Watson Lane. I move to call the question.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to move the question.
Just a point of order, if I could.
Sure.
The town administrator had made reference earlier to changing something in the language.
It's all set. I talked to Sheila. It's okay the way it is? Yeah. Yes.
They're all set.
Well.
Could you hold 1 minute, please?
I just say. I know we can look at the motion on the tape, but it would be great if we could have a copy, and that would help. So obviously, in order to use the money, it needs to be appropriated correctly, so we're just trying to help.
So why don't we just wait for clarification before we move the question? Was that Mike? That's already been voted. What's on the floor right now is to move the question. That eliminates debate. And in turn, I think Joe's clarification is he doesn't want to end debate if we need to make an amendment to the way it's written. And it could be just a friendly change to.
But we don't, you can't put, so what do I get, $23,000 for the 4th of July?
We already did that. That passed. It brought it down by 30,000 to 58.
$22,000 goes for the 4th.
I know, but it's not part of it.
Not part of this?
It's not part of the motion.
So, Mr. Moderator, I think we need a few minutes to talk with the chair and try to re-get this, because I'm not sure that the intent and what we're trying to do matches according to the explanation. So if you would come back up for just a few more minutes. And if we could just pause for just a few minutes.
We don't have nothing to pause to. We got nothing to do. You better hurry up, buddy. We got turkeys to kill. Normally, we would move on to the next article, but we have no articles to talk about. Does anybody? Louis, you got anything to talk about?
Oh, don't ask that question.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I stand by everything I said tonight.
Mr. Anderson, do you have something useful? It's unofficial.
Probably the
It is
longest
unofficial.
person ever in this town right here. How many years? 30 years on the phone?
It's been forever.
That deserves a round of applause.
Anyway, on behalf of the planning board and
Closer
the,
to the mic, they can't hear you.
wow. On behalf of,
Please quiet down so you can listen to Mr. Anderson, please.
on behalf of the planning board and the bylaw subcommittee, I would just like to thank all of you here today for your support on this amendment to our zoning bylaw. We take our work very, very seriously, and we always have in mind what we feel is best for the great town of Rutland. Thank you.
Seth, you want to talk about the ambulance that's coming that we got for 40,000? I mean, what color is it going to be? Or how big's the cruiser, Nick? I mean, is the new cruiser big or? Woo! All right, folks, so right now, the way things stand, the question has been moved. Waiting for clarification whether we should vote that down if we want to change something potentially, or do that. Do we have a decision? We're going to go with the...
The way they brought forward the motion, we're going to go with that motion.
Oh, beautiful. So...
Not that we're not saying we're supporting, I'm not saying anybody should support the motion, I'm just saying the motion is okay as it's written, and then people can vote whatever the way they want, but... So, explain it to her better, if you
Yeah.
think you can explain
Thanks.
it.
I know everyone wants to go to watch the game, and I completely understand. And I'm sorry, you know, my mind thinks these things. Essentially, the article is both, or the motion is both broad and narrow at the same time. Usually, in my experience, there's more, like money that's going to be spent like that goes in the budget. If DOR says fine, I mean, it's very clear what the town is voting for. It's very clear what the town wants this money to be spent for, assuming that it passes. So we would figure it out. If DOR had a problem with it, we'll figure it out. I mean, it may mean we come back at a different time and move, you know, money from here to there, but we'll deal with it then. As long as we do it before July 1st, we can make that work.
So just to be clear, we're not saying because this is the motion that we've taken any position on the dollars in the motion. We're just saying that the motion as written effectively will put the money we believe into an article, and we can spend the article for these purposes out of that article. The question of the allocation amount is up to you guys to decide.
No, I think that's fair enough. You've heard what they've said. There's a motion on the floor that came from Mr. Panthos Jr. there to move the question. So at this time, we are going to vote on just moving the question. And all that does is if you vote yes, it ends debate, we go right to a vote. If you vote no, we can go back and talk about everything you want to, if you choose to. And that's only a majority vote. All those in favor of ending debate, hit the green button. All those opposed, hit the red button, please. Or you can hit yellow if you want, but according to Lauren, yellow doesn't really count. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. 86 yes to end debate, 6 no, 0 yellow. Woo! All right, so now we go right into the motion. All those in favor of the motion with the amendment, so it's $30,000 less than 88, so that's 58 and change for the 300th activities potentially. All those in favor, hit red. Hit green. Green. All those in favor, hit the green. All those opposed, hit the red. The yellows can go home. All those voted who wish, I declare the ballot box closed. Yeses 71, 19 noes, 0 abstained. Motion passes. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All those, hey, push your buttons, please. All those opposed? Motion closed. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We have a lot to be thankful in this town.